What if stories and legends could offer us the key to the hottest political issues of the day? What if all the answers to today's burning questions were presented in easy-to-digest narratives and myths? Join us as we examine some of the most fascinating tales, some mythological, some historical, and apply those lessons to the chaos of modern politics. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. Welcome to The Rabbit Hole, Politics and Prose, a LibertyNation.com production. We are living in a dangerous and tumultuous time. The rule of law seems to have been thrown away in the interests of the powerful and their well-connected friends. Political persecutions are being played out as theatre for public edification, and those that oppose the will of the entrenched deep state feel the full force of the establishment against them. Yes, I'm talking about modern-day America and the impeachment inquiry taking place, but these few sentences could apply just as well to 15th century Florence. The parallels are so striking that it truly reinforces the notion that there is nothing new under the sun and that all of this has happened before. In this episode of The Rabbit Hole, I want to take you through a few of the more prominent examples of how power has been wielded by Florentine elites and how we can see their actions mirrored in today's shenanigans. And how can we navigate these dark and fetid waters? Let's start with what's happening in Congress right now. President Trump is being accused of a range of high crimes and misdemeanors in the hopes that at least one of these charges will stick. But who's behind it? Despite what Adam Schiff may think, he's small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Nor is it Nancy Pelosi. She may not even be in power come 2020. So who is running the show? And most importantly, cui bono? Who benefits? The reality is that this is a party action. The DNC, the people behind the DNC, and those who rely on the party for their continued prosperity, they seek to shape the political landscape in order to stamp their image upon the very future. It's not enough for them to merely win an election. It seems that perhaps they're not even trying to do this. They have a fundamental need to enforce the globalist brand on every aspect of life. From business to family affairs, they want in. And it's a brave soul who stands in their way. Now, let's consider Florence. Since the 14th century, one family was responsible for pretty much all of the ups and downs, all the laws, the social norms, even the art. The Medici. They're often lauded as being the family that sparked the Renaissance. And it's true, they were. They became patrons of all the great artists of the time, including Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and all the other great names. They invested in architecture. They invested in their city. But that doesn't mean that these people were benevolent rulers. The Medici made all of these seemingly altruistic overtures for their own personal gain. They spoke of raising the city to new heights, but this was to increase their reputation and banking company. They patronized artists, but they would own that art. You can visit Florence today and see proudly displayed on buildings everywhere the Medici coat of arms, 5 red balls and 1 blue ball. Look at any building of value, and you can see that the Medici family had a stake in it. They bought, they forced, and most importantly, they owned. They owned everything. Cosimo Vecchio, a contemporary at the time, declared that they have, quote, emblazoned even the monk's privies with his balls. What the Medici knew 500 years ago was that if you can get your fingers into every pie, you'll have a level of control not only of the institutions, but also of the people. It's no coincidence that the Medici symbol has long been associated with that of pawnbrokers, those 3 hanging bulls. They offer a service to those in desperate times, all for the profit of themselves. Returning to present day, the intrusive government wants to be involved in every aspect of our lives. How we educate our children, how we conduct relationships, how we exercise our constitutional rights, business, health, morality, just about everything. And despite the electioneering and slogan slinging, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. It's about control. It is about manipulation. Again, let's look back to today and the dangerous and dark times we face. What about the scandal that never was? Hunter Biden being awarded a job he was uniquely unqualified for because of his family connections. Right now, there are members of parliament in Ukraine begging President Donald Trump to launch an investigation into the possible money laundering, Burisma, and as they describe it, the theft of wealth from the people of Ukraine. Yet who is being hounded by the media? Who is facing removal from office for their dealings with the Ukrainian government? Not Hunter Biden, certainly. Not Joe Biden, who threatened to withhold funds if a prosecutor, who just happened to be looking into this exact thing, was not fired. This kind of corruption is not new. Perhaps it's a little more out in the open now, but if we look back to Florence, we can once again see the exact precursor played out in full. The Medici family, not content with having ultimate power just in their city-state, desired to shape the whole world. And they did this through putting favoured sons in positions of power where they could coerce, direct, and decide the fates of millions. From this period onwards, the Medici family provided 4 popes to Rome. Giovanni di Lorenzo de' Medici, second son of Lorenzo de' Medici, was elevated to the position of cardinal without even taking any priestly orders. This was a position bestowed due to family connections, and it was soon to take its toll on the Catholic Church. Perhaps in testament to the papal spin machine, the freshly coronated Pope Leo X, as Giovanni became, is even today regarded as a great intellectual and patron of the arts. The reality might be somewhat different. Leo X spent like there was no tomorrow. He tried to carve out mini kingdoms for family members, and if that weren't enough, he attempted to elevate further family members into offices that were under the control of the Pope and benefits, just like candy at Halloween. It should come as no surprise that under his rule in Rome, Martin Luther wrote and refined his 95 Theses, leading in turn to the real birth of the Protestant Reformation. This was a visceral kickback against the corruption. This granting of positions, including Pope Leo's himself, was and remains a cancer at the heart of society. It eats away at the very root of what makes institutions respectable and honoured. When people talk of politics and politicians, they often include a derisive sneer, because it has become so pervasive that these leaders, elected or otherwise, invariably feather their own nests ahead of the good of those they are supposed to serve. For every person granted a place of status, favours, benefits, influence is expected to be returned. Hunter Biden was well rewarded for his service, but these things spiral out of control. For Pope Leo, he hastened along Martin Luther and his Reformation. For Hunter Biden, we have yet to see what the true fallout will be. How many of our own elder statesmen will be dragged into this debacle? How many reputations ruined? And most importantly, what long-term damage will be inflicted on the institutions and offices in which we place such great trust? In the grand scheme of things, the links between Florence of the 15th century and the United States of today are not so unique. Throughout all of history and nation after nation, we witness these same 2 enemies of freedom: the placing of human assets in positions of power, and the state seeking to be ever more involved in the individual liberties of men and women. There's hardly a single society that has not fallen prey to these practices. They will continue. They will continue to tear down the things we, the people, have built up with our own blood and sacrifice. And we may be called upon, once again, to sacrifice when the next Reformation begins. It is easy just to mark this off as an element of human nature to engender a little corruption here and there, but that would be admitting that the parasite within has as much right as we do to our own bodies. There is only one way to stop the rot, and that is to place responsibility upon yourself, and all demands on those who seek to represent you. Beware of those philanthropists with good intentions. They may just be setting the stage for power and privilege. Thank you for listening to The Rabbit Hole, Politics and Prose, a LibertyNation.com production. Join us next episode, where we'll be talking more history, politics, legends and stories. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Liberty Nation Gen Z is your portal for engaging articles without the spin, riveting videos that foster critical thinking, downloadable worksheets and quizzes for each age level. Liberty Nation Gen Z. A free-thinking future starts here.